In studio with me, just going to wrap up here with Mzi Mabece from Melville Douglas, a division of Standard Bank, just about some of the issues. I mean, there's so much to unpack, Mzi, and still fresh in our mind. We still have a lot to take in and stuff. But can I start with where they ended just now, around the issue of the public sector wage bill? Because the minister, when he was speaking about it, because it's one of the biggest expense lines of our national budget, is the public sector wages. He says, as for the wage negotiations that just commenced, the budget does not preempt the outcomes. And we know currently government is saying 3 or 4 point something percent. Unions say, give us something closer to CPI or we're not interested. Isn't this risky?
But then you've hit the nail on the head. That's where the risk lies. Most especially if you say is you want to consolidate. You want to embark on fiscal consolidation, which of course they've been doing. This minister and the previous minister have actually been quite very prudent and in consolidating the fiscus. But herein lies the risk. The minister told us that, for instance, Eskom's debt inheritance will lift the debt matrices. And secondly, the outcome shall not be preempted. Now, all those things, they feed through to debt to GDP ratios, because now, as to where they settle, we do not know. And therein lies the risk.
Yeah, because we don't know. He might be coming back to Parliament with a begging bowl, asking for more money. The other issue is the expenditure for the social spending, social relief. I mean, it's additional spending is going to be given to social development of 66 billion rand. And then there'll be more monies for grants. But we know there's been a big call for basic income grant, for example, but it hasn't come through. Government is not ready for that.
No, but then I think between me and you, and in general, I do not think there is any South African who would say there is no need for a basic income grant in South Africa. The question is, at this stage, given the economic climate, can we afford a basic income grant, and how much would that be? So I think hence we've seen these social, what they call SDR, these social distress relief grants. And of course, there'll always be criticism as to how far can 350 go? But I have some sympathy for the minister and his team, because
it's a tough balancing act.
It's a very tough balancing act, and you are dealing with a very limited pot with limited resources.
And the levels of poverty
absolutely
have been exacerbated by the pandemic. So you're really caught between a rock and a hard place.
Absolutely.
It's going to be interesting to see, but there has been some increase currently in terms of social development. The other matter, which is sort of in the speech, but I don't want to let it go before you leave our studio, Mzi, is to talk about it. It's the retirement side of things. Because he also addressed the retirement tax tables for lump sums to be withdrawn before retirement. So a very important issue in South Africa. But also this two-pot retirement system. Can we start there? This two-pot retirement system, which he says they still intend to publish revised draft legislation around.
Absolutely, absolutely, President. I think for me, in a nutshell, what used to happen if, for instance, you left your job and you belonged to a pension fund, and you were saying, well, I'm leaving my job and I want to do whatever I want to do, you would withdraw from your pension fund or provident fund. And in a provident fund, it would be 100% withdrawal, and you would do whatever you pleased with that money. Now, what government has said, because they want to promote retirement savings for individuals. Secondly, because if we do not put money aside for our retirement, we become a burden on government. And now we can see that one of the biggest expenditure items is social grants. So they want to promote retirement savings to relieve government of that responsibility. So now what they're saying is that, and government does recognize that, particularly with the impact of COVID that it has had, it has decimated jobs, and people would want to access some of their retirement savings. So now, the suggestion is that let's create two pots. A retirement pot with which you will buy a retirement annuity that you cannot access up until you retire. So you've got 100 rand, 66 rand goes to the retirement pot that you cannot access up until your age of retirement. And with that 66 rand, you will buy a retirement annuity. And there's this, what they call a savings pot. So where your other 33 rand will be housed. And with that 33 rand, you can access it at least once a year.
Okay, those are the two pots.
Those are the two pots.
Okay.
So hence the two-pot retirement system.
In one or two words, as we conclude, as conclude with you, Mzi, how would you describe this budget speech?
It was a difficult budget to put together, but given the posture of the minister, I think what he managed to do is, of course, it cannot be everything to everyone, but I think at the same time it was actually quite a very balanced budget that sought to address FATF, which is grey listing.
We'll find out on Friday.
Absolutely. That sought to
Okay.
That sought to address crime. So I think it was a very balanced but a very difficult budget to put together.
Thank you very much, Mzi Mabece, for your time and patience sitting with us in the studio here throughout the budget speech. He's, of course, from Melville Douglas, which is a division of Standard Bank.